I'm Darren, I'm from Movie Reviews 101, and today we're going to talk about Sicario 2, Soldado, or The Day of the Soldado, depending on which country you're in. And we have Benicio del Toro and Josh Brolin back, and we end up following a drug war that needs to be created in Mexico by the American government to solve all their terrorist problems, because stuff happens early on. They're playing the Iraq card again, and they want to do it in Mexico because they're tired of the attacks happening in America. Matt Graver, which is Josh Brolin, gets to release Benicio del Toro Alejandro to do whatever he wants, to become the deadliest killer imaginable, using all his skills, including that really weird gun thing, because my gun sound effects are fantastic. You know it, and I know it. Maybe not. But anyway, that's the gist of the story. So, it's time for Darren's Ups. The three things I like best about this movie. The first one has to be the sound and the music. The music is used to create the tone so perfectly, and for someone who isn't the best at noticing music and everything, this is sort of up there with like an Interstellar or Inception for me, the only one to ever really stick with me. But then there are some great sound effects when there's certain conversations and you're just dead space, and you feel it, and it really does make a big impact. That is fantastic in this movie. If this doesn't get some form of Soundish awards or nominations at the Oscars, there's going to be people complaining. Maybe not me. Anyway, number two has to be Brolin and Del Toro. Absolutely shine on a pedestal against this whole supporting cast. We get to see Josh Brolin has now done 3 movies this last 3 months and hit it out of the park every time. And Del Toro brings back this character we all fell in love with in the first one. Probably the more interesting character that we didn't learn too much about, but now we learn everything and he's front and centre. Great to see. And the third thing is, I love the convoy shots. Whether it's going across the border or that way through the border, and then there's some really good action sequences created from the convoys. So we end up having a dust convoy, which was my favourite one, and it's just like the panic of what a convoy could be if it's not in familiar territory. But that's the goods. There is downs. You know I have to pick 3 bad things about this movie. You could easily just tick up Emily Blunt not being here, but I'm not going to do that. That's a discussion for another day. I will say there is no mention to what happened to her. Yep. That was disappointing, I'm not going to lie. But we're going to focus on the 3 things I didn't like. And there is this side story which does tie into the end. I'm not going to moan. But it just... because nobody was too known, like we weren't sure what was going on, a lot of the time it was like, do we need to watch this? I just want to watch Del Toro or Brolin do weird stuff and torture people, kill people. But there's this side story. I won't say what's going on because it will be brought back at the end. So, disappointing for me. The Isabel Reyes character was just a bit Logan-esque. Like, we know when we watched Logan, we had Daphne Keane, who was brilliant as like the little girl with the rogue trying to do a road trip, and in this one she's just a bit whiny. They didn't really write her to be that interesting. You could have done a lot of complex stuff with this character for a movie that has a lot of complex characters. Like, does she support what her dad does? Does she hate what her dad does? Is she just stuck in a world with because of her name? There were so many questions that we could have asked here and we didn't even touch them. That was very disappointing. And I guess we're going to have to go with the government politics side of it. It was one of those movies where it's like, you could go off the books to do this job, and if it goes tits up, you're fucked. That just, and you know, they all bottle it, you know they will. It was very predictable what was going to happen, so that was a bit disappointing. Overall, for me, this is an excellently shot movie that I think if you are a fan of the original, you are going to like this one. It is brutal when it comes to action sequences and blood flying everywhere. don't hold back. There are a couple of scenes that are very difficult to watch, and one comes very early in the movie. I have to put that warning out there, because even in an empty cinema I heard people gasping at what happened early on, because it's a bit too close to home, shall we say, with what's going on in the world at the moment. But overall, I'm going to give Sicario 2 Soldado a 4 out of 5. Yes, I'm not going to quite go all the way, because there was a few nitpicks in the story for me. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and tell me if I'm wrong, because that's what comments are for, isn't it? Anyway, until next time, I'm going to leave you and do what I do best.